Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. Thank y'all so much for being here in the middle of the day on a Friday, no less. Hopefully y'all are having a good week. Can everybody hear me okay? Can somebody just let me know if you can hear me fine, because y'all know how my mic will do. Well, hello. Hi, Queen Verta Sanchez. It's good to see you. Hi, Tamiko Hinman. It's amazing to see you. Thank y'all so much for being here. Oh, wonderful. Hey, Clem McCullough. Oh, you changed your profile picture. I love it. What's your dog's name? Thank you so much for letting me know you can hear me. Awesome. Hey, Black Queen. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you for 6 months of, you've been a member longer than that. I think it probably resets. Sometimes YouTube will do that. You've been a member for a while. So thank you so, so much. Y'all, we have some fun topics today. So we always have a lot to talk about. But today specifically, I wanted to talk about Harry and Meghan as leaders. And I had a whole different show set up to talk about other examples of both of their impeccable leadership, only for Harry to give a surprise appearance yesterday, and his speech changed our show today because I got inspired in a whole nother way. So we'll get to the other stuff. We have time. But I was so impressed with his speech that I just decided to break that down and talk about that and make that the lead topic of today's live stream. But we also have another topic that we're going to touch on about Meghan's joy from the place of politics. And Ameena Griffin sent me this article that talks about joy as an act of resistance for Black women. And I read the article and I was touched and moved. So I'm excited to share that with y'all. And thank you, Ameena, for sharing that with me. I appreciate it. I want to also start off by saying today's live stream is my first sponsored live stream ever. Thank you so much to Go Brunch for sponsoring our live stream today, y'all. Look at us. We're moving up in the world. Oh, wow. Okay. Thank you so much, Clem McCullough. Her dog's name is Bailey. That is so cute. Well, please tell Bailey I said hello and thanks for being here. All right. Awesome. So before we get started, I want to go ahead and say thank you. Oh, wow. Of course. I've been a member for 3 years. Holy guacamole. The whole 3. I haven't even been a member for 3 years. No, I'm just playing. Thank you so much, Black Queen. You know, I always appreciate you. Every single live stream, I really appreciate when you get to be here. And thank you for the super sticker. I really appreciate it. All right, y'all. So we've got a show to get going. Oh, goodness. Okay. I'm going to get to the comments after our first segment. because y'all know we got to talk. We have a lot to talk about. So I'm going to go ahead and play the first segment. In the meantime, go ahead and like the live stream or the video. Please don't forget to share so that more people can come and fill up the room. And don't forget to light up the live stream comments so that we can keep our conversation going. Oh, yeah, and subscribe. That's great, too. Please subscribe. So let's get started with the first segment. Prince Harry, the Duke of Sussex, delighted crowds at the Upfront Summit in Los Angeles with a surprise appearance and a speech. Prince Harry, the Duke of Sussex, made a surprise appearance at a venture capital event on Thursday, speaking to the crowd at the Upfront Summit in Los Angeles. The Duke of Sussex began his remarks by acknowledging the crowd's shock at his unannounced presence at the event, but he promised he had something important to say. So today we're going to be turning to People magazine for all of the details. The title of this article is Prince Harry Talks Fatherhood and Why He's Never Voted in Surprise LA Appearance. This article was written by Meredith Kyle. Quote, I'm here to talk about something that I believe will resonate with all of you as leaders, creators, builders, and changemakers. How do we invest in our shared future to solve the challenges we face today as a divided society? Harry told the audience. As a dad, this has me constantly looking for solutions. As a man who was born into a life of service, I recognize that with power and a platform comes responsibility. I want to pause right there. Prince Harry, you ain't never lied. I feel like that needs to be plastered at the top of every single government building in this nation, hell, in the world, because our political leaders, our government officials, the people who are supposed to be leading us into prosperity and safety and innovation and evolution are literally tanking us right now. And Prince Harry is the only voice of reason with a microphone for miles. Prince Harry and Jasmine Crockett and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Those are the only ones who I find are actually saying what needs to be said, because we are a divided nation and that should not be the case. It's literally like, it's not even at this time conservative versus liberal. It's like common sense versus non-common sense. One half wants to thrive and operate as a community, and the other half wants to kill us all. I don't feel like that should be where the line is drawn, but let's continue. Harry noted, let me go back. In these days, I am determined to find and invest in solutions. I also want to stop there. Again, Harry ain't never lied, because I have actually talked about this a couple of times. When we look back at the end of the year at all of the investments, partnerships, and affiliations for the Archewell Foundation and Invictus Games and any other initiative that they have, but mostly Archewell Foundation, when we look at the connections that they make, as well as the personal investments from Harry and Meghan as business people, something we have always talked about and we can consistently note is that they are intentional. It's always green or eco-friendly. It's always progressive. It's always uplifting people in marginalized communities. And it is always associated with in some form or fashion with uplifting an underserved community or an under-resourced area. Every single investment, every single connection, every single relationship, every single initiative, every single partnership has those elements. They are wildly intentional. We literally just talked about how Meghan is intentional for all of those same reasons, even down to her fashion. This woman is so intentional about the future and progression and literally putting her money and her action where her mouth is and working towards solutions that she chooses her clothes, the very things that she puts on her body, with consciousness. He's right. When he says he is determined to find and invest solutions, he is absolutely right. I would even say this might even be a little bit understated, because they go above and beyond to great lengths to show leadership in all facets, which is why we have named the live stream what we named it. But they've shown leadership in ways that even our leaders in public office aren't showing. Honestly, our leaders in public office aren't even showing 10% of the leadership of Harry and Meghan. Let's continue. Harry noted that his royal upbringing gives him a unique apolitical perspective on most subjects. Quote, hell, I've never even been allowed to vote, he joked. Y'all know I love a cussing royal. He explained that service to others has always been his main keystone when attempting to build a better world. Quote, "That's true from Nigeria to Nepal and from Sydney to Santa Barbara," Harry shared. "It's the same approach I've taken in founding charities like the Invictus Games Foundation back in 2014 that supports and rehabilitates wounded and injured service personnel and veterans through sport, and more recently with the Archewell Foundation, where we show up and do good for those who need it most, supporting social impact initiatives." Why did I separate most like that in the sentence? I don't know why I did that, but let's continue. "Including digital safety and education, all under the umbrella of protecting our collective mental health." Yep, 100%. The Duke of Sussex continued, "The way that I answer the question of how we invest in our shared future is different now living in the US to when I was living in the UK. Why? Because before I moved, so much of my life revolved around charity. Since then, while my charities remain a core part of my life's work, I've also been focusing on upstream solutions and prevention, driven by decisions and investments that address problems before they require." That's right, a proactive approach is my preference. Still, I've approached, quote, "I'm not one to be caught in the divide between left or right views." I mean, no, you're not. I feel like Harry as well, Meyer, they don't even have to identify. They're literally just common sense views. Should we be helping each other? Yes. Should those with privilege or money or means be assisting and helping as a community? Yes. Should we be trying to kill each other? No. Should we be smart with our resources? Yes. But should we also be generous with our resources? Again, yes. That's not left or right. That's common sense. But let's continue. But only one side is championing those principles. But let's continue. "I'm not one to be caught in the divide between left or right views, not cornered by a belief in blue or red. Hell, I've never even been allowed to vote. From my institutional role traveling the world to my decade of duties in the military, I saw the power of serving others firsthand. My personal experiences overseas taught me that when you put others first, you build stronger, more sustainable systems." I know that's right. That's true from Nigeria to Nepal and from Sydney to Santa Barbara. You better preach, Duke of Sussex. Now listen. The people of Sussex are cheering right now. But now listen, let me say this. It shouldn't take Prince Harry, someone who should be the least relatable of all the people we consider to be on the global stage, or just as leaders in general, or someone with a platform, or public figures. Prince Harry should literally be the most or the least relatable person we talk about. Genuinely, this man was literally born into royalty. Something that most of us don't even really conceptualize outside of fairy tales and fantasy. This man was literally born into and I don't mean this in the most positive way, a fairy tale. It's like most of us can't relate to that in that sense. However, despite our government leaders, despite our political leaders who were, and I'm speaking in terms of the US when I say this, because I'm in Texas. Our government leaders, our political leaders, while some of them were born into privilege, some of them were born into less than means, some of them were even born beneath the poverty line, none of them can say that they were born into royalty. So in a sense, they're all relatable in some way because we've all had similar, not the same, experiences. So the fact that an actual member of the royal family, the British royal family, can come to the US and speak more common sense than our president, our vice president, and anyone else in his cabinet, it says a lot. It says a lot on two fronts. It says a lot about our government right now. It says a lot about voter suppression. It says a lot about Elon Musk and those machines. I mean, they're not even hiding it anymore. It says a lot about what United States citizens are headed for. But it also says a lot about the work Prince Harry has done to connect with people and to learn and observe. Because keep in mind, his perspective, and not the apolitical stuff, but his perspective on helping, his perspective on service, his perspective on his approach to being a participant in this world and in society and what he feels his role is and how he operates, he was not born with any of that. Now, as far as being born into service, that's what his family says. But Harry is the only one born into that family. Aside, his mom wasn't born into the family. So that's why I said the only member born into his family that actually champions that through action. I don't find it to be a coincidence that he met someone in an unrelated manner. They just happen to have those things in common, which is why I say it's destined. But he met someone who was equally as service-minded from a completely different world. How are they both relatable? And a Hollywood actress and a royal prince, yet they are speaking more facts about the situation in our country and globally than our damn president. Let's continue. I mean, I really want people, because we talk about them often, and it can be easy to just accept that they are really great public figures and they're leading the charge and they're really setting an example and a blueprint to what public figures should really aspire to be and how they should aspire to operate. And not just public figures, but people with means, people with privilege, people with money, people with a platform. You can look at Harry and Meghan as the blueprint. Take some of that. You don't have to copy them, obviously. But I'm saying, if you're looking to be more charity minded, if you're looking to be more invested in your communities or just in the world or in society in general, if you're looking to use your privilege, your blessings to help those around us, I want more public figures and I want people with privilege and I want more rich people in general to take a look at how Harry and Meghan are operating, because they didn't have to be elected to office to give a damn. And honestly, they should be the two least relatable people on our global stage. Yet they are the only ones who seem to care if we live or die. And not even just if we live or die or not, but our quality of life. It's quite impressive. Anyway, let's continue. Prince Harry assured the crowd that he had not wandered into the wrong room, pivoting to a discussion about how individuals and companies alike can invest in companies that are developing technological solutions to address the root causes of societal challenges. Quote, I've spent the last 5 years, sometimes publicly, but primarily quietly. Yep, y'all hear that? Investing in companies that align with my values and vision of a better tomorrow. Companies that understand the power and significance of service. He shared, noting a commitment to causes supporting mental fitness to carbon sequestration, early education to veteran employment. Quote, in a world where technology is more embedded in our lives than ever before, it's easy to forget the human aspect of it, he continued. I've seen firsthand how technology can bring people together, but more often how it can divide and harm them, especially our children. And if we aren't prioritizing the safety of our children, what does that say about the very industry that is shaping our world? You know what, Prince Harry? You spit nothing but facts. Put a beat behind it. We all need to be listening to this repeatedly. Every business decision can reflect a commitment to serving others, whether it's your customers, your community, or the planet, he told the crowd. That's the future I see. Companies that are designed not just for profit, but for an investment in a better shared future. Following Prince Harry's remarks, he joined Mark Suster, managing partner at Upfront Ventures, for a Q&A. The conversation ranged from a deeper discussion about service, leadership, and Harry's military background to more lighthearted, rapid-fire personal questions. The Duke of Sussex's surprise appearance comes just weeks after the 2025 Invictus Games. Harry founded the Games in 2014 and celebrated their 7th iteration in Vancouver and Whistler, Canada earlier this month. Quote, while I never expected that we would still be here in 2025, from one soldier to another, I also promise you this. So long as our brothers and sisters are striving to heal and grow, the Games will go on, he told the crowd during the closing ceremony. So long as there are those around the world who view you with sympathy rather than admiration and respect, the Games will go on, he added. And so long as the challenges around us demand it and require it, the Games will go on. Bring on Invictus Games Birmingham 2027. You have permission to party. I know that's right. You know what, y'all? I wish I could vote for y'all to be president. Well, I can vote for you, but I don't think you're interested. But I wish that as a couple, the two of you could just hold office. Let's just do away with the rules. Hell, our current president did. He said, I don't care about the rules. Bump the rules. Okay, well, let's play that game as well. I want to elect an American actress and a British prince to lead this country. Can we do it? Yes, we can. How funny I passed this picture when I said that. Yes, we can. Honestly, all jokes aside, though, I do hope people recognize the gravity of a British prince recognizing the value of service and actually taking action to be part of the communities that he services, to be part of the communities that he helps. When Harry and Meghan, and I'm using this because Harry's the one who made the appearance, but honestly, I'm speaking about both of them. When they go into some of these communities, and this was before they were together and since they've been married, you can tell that they actually take the time to get to know the people in these communities. It's definitely not from a place of looking down on people. It's not a condescending thing. It's certainly not patronizing. When they go into these communities, they see people. They don't see charity cases. They don't see subjects. They don't see people who are like, ill, don't touch me. They don't have that energy. I'm not trying to insult anyone, but I want to share something that I saw. I remember way back in the day, I used to watch Keeping Up with the Kardashians. I know. I was young and dumb. I used to watch Keeping Up with the Kardashians, and I remember seeing Khloe in her Bentley telling Rob that they were going to go and drive around. I forgot the area's name, but it's an area where a lot of homeless people live, and they congregate there. And it's a part of town that you wouldn't normally see celebrities. And I remember her telling Rob that they were going to drive through there and talk to people. And Rob was like, I don't think we should do it that way. If we want to go there, I feel like we should go there and help and do something and like set it up with like an organization or something. I don't feel like we should just drive through in our $1 million car and like roll the window down and be like, how does it feel to be broke? And honestly, right. Like, she didn't take his advice. She said, well, Dad used to do it all the time. He used to drive us down here so that we would be grateful. I want to remind people that when they meet or see or observe someone who might have a different plight than them, that they see as harder or more difficult or whatever, please stop using people as your motivation when it comes to sympathizing with them, or that kind of energy of like, oh, I'm glad it's not me. I'm going to be so grateful for my legs once I met a paraplegic person. Like, that energy is so condescending and inconsiderate. Something that, and I used to work with a lot of organizations and charities, and some of them I still work with and help out, but I used to work with a lot that were for special needs. I also contribute to the Special Olympics. And also, obviously, as you know, I've worked with a lot of organizations centered around veterans. So there are a lot of people with different capabilities. And so one of the things that is said often by people, particularly who have to use some form of assistance to get around, like a wheelchair or leg braces or a cane or a walker, something that so many people have shared with me and in front of me and in those discussions that I've been able to observe, I've been privileged to be invited into, something that they say is that it drives them up a wall when people walk up to them and say, you make me so grateful. You've inspired me. You make me so grateful that I was born with this ability. And I'm like, okay, wait a minute. Turn that around. Because I feel like it's been done so much and people's actual lived experiences are being used as this fairy tale Disney movie moment that you're not recognizing that this is a person with feelings. And what you just did was highlight something that could or could not be a big issue to them. They've probably gotten used to living this way and they don't see any difference between themselves and you. And you took it upon yourself to point out how different you were, but also how privileged you were. And how your takeaway was basically, at least I'm not like you. But I'm going to be grateful for that. Aren't you proud? People don't want to feel like your charity case. People don't want to feel like the stepping stone you had to step on to ascend to your destiny. No one wants to feel like you're sympathizing with them. That's condescending. And I want to turn that around. And I'm making a point here. I want to turn that around. Could you imagine being at a store? I feel like a lot of people have had this experience, being at a store, and whether or not you brought the wrong debit card or credit card, or you were just trying to make it, praying it went through, but you didn't have enough money. But you needed the items, whether it's a pack of meat, medicine, what have you. You needed these items, but you're broke as a joke. And the person behind you in their Chanel and their fur and their giant glasses and their red bottoms and their black card, they walk up and say, hey, I know you're broke right now. And I know that you really need that medicine right there. That seems like life-saving medicine that you, brokey, cannot afford. And watching you struggle, it has really inspired me to appreciate my Bentley outside, to appreciate my billionaire spouse, to appreciate my show dogs and my 700,000 square foot mansion, my yacht, the third one I got this year. You really have inspired me to appreciate all of my privilege. Now, can you get out of the way so I can make my purchases? Thank you. That is the same energy. Would you not be offended if someone was like, I have a privilege that you don't, but you make me grateful. Now your life is worthy. Lesser It would be so, and I want to point that out because I have been working with a lot of different communities for a very long time. And I've heard conversations that have changed my perspective because I never would have realized how egregious that was, because that's so common had I not been invited into those spaces. Thankfully, I've never done that, but hearing that made me really aware of not doing it. And also when other people do it, oh, it sticks out like a sore thumb. And I share that because I've been in observation and been able to work with so many communities in so many capacities that when I say Harry and Meghan are built different when they approach service, I mean that. I'm saying that because of what I've been able to observe. I'm saying that because of how often people meaning well. Now, this is not a dig at people's intention. I really do feel like people intend to make a person feel better. I think that their intent is positive, but intention does not negate outcome. Intention does not negate impact. You can mean well and hurt somebody like hell. That's part of the reason why when someone says you've offended them, your response should not be in defense of yourself. It should be an apology. And if you are really unaware of how your actions impacted them, an apology and asking them what you could have done different. And then once you've gotten that information, you can then go back and say, hey, I just want to be clear. I never intended to hurt you, but I'm so glad you shared that with me. I will never do that again. And leave it there. The moment you start defending yourself, well, I didn't know that would hurt your foot if I stomped on it. The moment you defend yourself, it shows that you care more about your image than you actually care about the impact you had on this other person. And so I say that to say a lot of people who make those snafus, a lot of people who make others feel small, a lot of people who make others feel condescended to or patronized, they do that unwittingly. They do that unintentionally. And as a matter of fact, it's the antithesis of what they intended to do in the first place, which is to make you feel uplifted and inspired and that you did something to me that left me with a positive impact. A lot of people would love to know that they impacted you positively. People don't want to hear that though, at their own detriment. It's kind of like walking up to someone whose home has just burned down and being like, you know what? I am so glad I thought to put my candles on a candle holder. And that I never leave a flame unattended because my house is still intact. But you've inspired me to always make sure I double check. God bless. That is so rude. And when I use it in that context, you'll probably get it a little bit better for those who struggle with that. Because every time I brought that up, that going up to people who are handy capable in any capacity or visibly suffering from anything, when you go up to them and tell them how they've inspired you, that is really rude. And so I'll leave it there because that's just one of many examples of how well-meaning people intending to go into communities or work with organizations or work with communities who may or may not have any kind of handy-capable skills or anything like that, people who are marginalized in any way. When people with privilege go into those communities or work with those communities, more often than not, their well-meaning gestures are not appreciated because they have a very negative impact. And so when I say observing Harry and Meghan for these years, with the knowledge that I have, with the experience that I have, when I say observing them has really taught me that they are built different. And it looks very different when you're doing something from the heart as a student, as a forever student, as a forever participant, as a forever contributor in that space. I will always be working to improve when I'm in this space. I will always be working to contribute when I'm in this space. I will never feel like I can speak over you about your situation. I will uplift your voice with my privilege and platform so that you can be heard. When you approach marginalized communities or under-resourced communities with the right mindset, oh, it looks different and the impact is different. And when I uplift Harry and Meghan and talk about what they do, that is why. Another person who does the same thing or very similar is the Be Good Foundation. They do so much amazing work all over, but mostly in Houston. And a lot of times people forget that a lot of celebrities have charities, but many of them are just for show or for other means. We won't get into that. But some people get charities and churches for a very different reason. That's why when I see people doing the work and organizations doing the work for real, I don't bite my tongue to talk about why it's so different and so appreciated. And Harry and Meghan are absolutely hitting it out of the park when it comes to helping others. Their leadership cannot be understated, or cannot be overstated. They aren't even political leaders. They're public figures who don't have to do a damn thing. I never want us to miss that. Everything that they do is a choice. I know that people get a kick out of me saying that I wish Meghan would tell a lot of people to go to hell. And I'm so glad she chooses to stay in the public eye. But if I were her, I don't know if I would be built that way. I don't know if I'm that strong, because the way I would take all my riches and go live on a private island, and the only time you saw me was when I was popping out my 40th redhead baby. I meant that. I meant that. The fact that they have the means to live beyond any of our wildest dreams, and they choose to contribute to the world around them. Not even contribute. Let me not understate it. They choose to devote their life to service. A life that could not be more privileged. Privilege that they've acquired through working hard, by the way. But a life that could not be more privileged. And they're choosing to share that and spread that around. I never want that to be missed. So when I say that they are leaders and they operate with leadership in action, that is what I mean. Because you can be elected as an official. You can be elected into office. You can have a CEO position. You can be a COO. You can be a director. You can be whatever you want, president. Your title doesn't mean boo. How do you inspire and uplift people? What are you doing when you leave this house every day? How does the world respond to you? When you come home at the end of the day, what was your biggest contribution? I want more public figures to ask themselves those pivotal questions. And then I want them to step up to the plate. Every single tongue that speaks against Harry and Meghan, or the Archewell Foundation or Invictus Games Foundation, every single tongue that wags at the thought of saying something nasty about either of them, which, first of all, if I ever catch you, I'm cutting it out your mouth. But aside from that, every single tongue that speaks against them, I want them to also turn around and tell us what they've been doing for the communities that they serve. Or do they serve communities at all? I'm going to go ahead and answer that. No, they're actually parasitic. They're actually the drain on the communities. They're actually people like that, those very rich people, those very poor people who sit there and condemn those of us in the community who are actually trying to help, specifically people like Harry and Meghan who genuinely don't have to, and they have the means to live a very privileged life and they choose to help and be of service. Those who try to tear them down are parasitic, and they're what's draining our society of positivity, resources, and honestly, anything that can help progress our society. They are the ones holding us back. Because what do you mean you have nothing but negativity to speak on two people who are literally committed to service, but you don't have anything to say about the racists literally giving the Nazi salute several times in 1 month? You don't have boo to say about those people who are literally trying to revive the Nazi Party on a global stage in front of us at an inauguration of all places in the US. You don't have boo to say about that. But oh my God, don't let Meghan's spaghetti strap be less than 3 inches. That's the focus. Don't let Prince Harry surprise at an event and wear no tie but a top button undone. Oh my God. Don't let Harry and Meghan release a Christmas card. Oh my God, for shame. But also, I don't see anything wrong with what Elon Musk is doing. Why is Elon Musk holding interviews in the Oval Office? Like, we have a lot more to be talking about. So when you are thinking to question public figures who are literally committing themselves to do what everyone should be doing, when they are literally the example of leadership, instead of speaking against them, I want you to go question our actual elected officials. And I want you to keep that same energy. Maybe if more, I was about to say Republicans, more reporters and more reporters and more journalists and more people in the media. If you have a microphone, if you have a pen and a pad, if you have a laptop or a keyboard or even a typewriter, baby, I want you asking the questions that need to be asked. Maybe if y'all start talking about and to the people who are actually destroying this world, maybe instead of focusing on Harry and Meghan and condemning them for every little thing they do, mind you, none of which is wrong. none of which is bad. Instead of speaking against Harry and Meghan and any other public figure or celebrity that you just decided to target this year, instead of doing that, why don't you talk about and to the politicians and the government officials who are literally letting our democracy go by the wayside? I want you to ask those questions. I want you to bring that same hater ass energy. We need it. It needs to be channeled, but in the right places. Stop hating on people who are doing good. And I want you to go take that parasitic attitude and I want you to drain the life out of those who are actually harming us. But anyway, with that said, that is why I named this live stream today, Leadership in Action. And as a matter of fact, I had a very different show planned. I'm not even kidding. I had a whole different set of topics planned that aligned with that subject matter. But then I saw this surprise appearance and his speech inspired me in a whole different way. We'll get to those other conversations. We have time. We have all the time in the world. But this speech just reminded me why we were having this discussion in the first place. Sorry to talk y'all's ear off. Y'all let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Let's get back to the discussion in our live stream. Thank you, Harry and Meghan. Since don't nobody else want to say it, I'll say it. Thank you, Harry and Meghan. Y'all know I can't stand journalists who tear down Harry. Let's get back to the discussion. I could do this all day. I got a little heated. That's a very sensitive topic to me though, because I don't know if I would be I would still be passionate, but like if we were in a time where we just had a normal government, it might not stick out as much. It might be like, y'all could just leave them people alone. But the fact that we are literally being forced on this crazy ride with a crazy orange psycho and his square-headed bestie, and we're literally just watching our rights get stripped away one by one, blow by blow, and no one's saying or doing boo about it yet. Harry and Meghan, who've done nothing wrong, certainly nothing anywhere near what Trump has been doing, if they smile, it's like, oh my God, they took up so much air when they smiled. Several children were breathless and got asthma. And like they will literally just throw shit at the wall. And it sticks out to me like a sore thumb because it ticks me off, first of all. Y'all know I get kind of sensitive. Once I have started supporting somebody, I love to be loyal. Because it takes a lot for me to support somebody. It takes a whole lot. I'm not a big, I don't like to join, I don't even know what to call it, but like parasocial relationships. And technically that's what a lot of those haters do, but in reverse. So a lot of people who siphon the life out of Harry and Meghan, well, I'll say in the media, and they try to siphon the life out of them with their articles and their tweets and all this stuff. Those people really are in parasocial relationships with them. Because it takes just as much energy to hate somebody than it does to love them. Actually, it takes a lot more. And I just don't, for the life of me, understand people who put all their energy into something they dislike. That doesn't make sense to me. And that's exactly why they're deranged, because you're doing nonsensical things. But when you actually use your career to harm or try to harm people, and no one stops you, there's no checks and balances. No one says, hey, hold on, I know you don't like this couple, but you need to rework that headline, and you need to make sure whatever you're publishing in my paper is factual. You need to go ahead and serve up your sources. No one is stopping it. That's what makes me annoyed. But then when you have that happening in tandem with this orange psycho who's literally stripping our rights away, impeding on all kinds of laws and the Constitution, when you have that happening at the same time, it makes their behavior that much more egregious. And one of the reasons why I think it's way more noticeable now is that reason specifically, because more people are like, now, wait a minute, you could be using your time and your influence to dismantle this weird bullshit that's taking all of us by storm. Instead, you're focusing on two people who are literally trying to help us. They're literally building a life raft for us, and you don't want us to get on it? You want us to stay on the Titanic with the orange psycho? No thanks. The band can keep playing as the ship goes down. I'm going to hop on that safety boat with Harry and Meghan, and I don't care who got boo to say about it. But more people need to be speaking up about how ridiculous it is that so many publications have used their influence and their platform to attack two private citizens. That's even weirder. Now, I understand they're public figures, but they are private citizens. They're not elected officials. And as the royals love reminding us and their fans, they're not working royals. Okay, so if that's the case, then leave them the hell alone then. Y'all begged, pleaded, borrowed, steal for them to go away. We want them off our island. They could not be stopped with that rhetoric. We don't want Meghan here. Okay. Now that Meghan ain't been back in forever, when is Meghan gonna show up? Never. How about that? Leave her alone. You got what you wanted. See, that's how you know it was nonsensical and illogical from the very beginning, because they never wanted Meghan to leave. They just wanted her to beg to stay. They wanted her there, but they wanted her to beg to be there. And when Mama had a little self-respect, they were like, now wait a minute. Not her loving herself. They acted surprised. Like, newsflash, boo, she doesn't need you. She doesn't need you, your mama, your old greasy granny with the hole in her panties. She don't need none of y'all. And she don't mind showing you that. She moved on with her life and said, you know what? I'll opt in on a lifetime subscription of joy. Why not? And I have some 2 cute little redhead babies, and I'm gonna take my prince to go. Now, I know they mad, but anyway, the fact of the matter is they're private citizens now, and they love reminding us that they're not a royal. They're not. First of all, they are royal. They don't have to be working royals to be royal. Harry was born royal. Meghan married royal. They're royal, and they're doing a whole lot more for the royal family just by existing than the royal family who are working royals themselves. But that's going to fall by the wayside like everything else. They wanted her to leave. She left. Then they were like, well, wait a minute. We didn't mean for real. Or as the most recent article, I didn't think you would leave forever. Well, what did you think leave meant? What did you think it meant when they bought a home? I don't know too many people who buy a home temporarily. That seems pretty permanent to me. But either way, I find it to be, it's always been a problem that they bully Harry and Meghan, or they try to, because they're certainly not touching them now. They don't even know those people exist anymore. But I've always thought it was a problem. It's always been a problem. It's always been a dire issue. And it's always been something that people should have been talking about and speaking up against. Always. Whether they thought they were coming back or not, they should have always been speaking up against the abuse they received. But I think it's so much more noticeable now because there are so many other people in this world who are actually truly evil incarnate. And those same people who have all these protocols have nothing to say about the dissolution of democracy. Now, wait a minute. I promise you, the hem of a skirt is not more important than the Nazi salute. If you had your rathers of what to talk about and to be outraged about, I would hope it's the stiff-ass arm in the air from our future president and his square-headed ass first lady. I would hope that was more concerning. And that's why so many more people are like, now, wait a minute. Y'all are really obsessed with these two private citizens. If you're going to be obsessed, I want them to just go ahead and do it about it. Go ahead and be obsessed, but be obsessed for the right reasons. Go on and get on Archewell.org. Go get on Sussex.com. Go get on InvictusGames.org, InvictusGamesFoundation.org. Go ahead and log on and see all the good work they do and amplify that. Talk about that. You can talk about them all you want and you can continue to get paid for it. But why don't you do it with a soul? It's okay. You've made some mistakes up until this point. But go ahead and cash in your card and turn around and go do things the right way so that you can at some point live with yourself. Because I promise you, you might be getting dollars right now for clickbait, but at some point you're going to have to look at yourself in the mirror. And looking back at you, the little 5-year-old who's going to look at you from that mirror and say, oh my God, I grew up to turn into that. That's going to be worse than anything Harry and Meghan could ever say to you. And what makes it even better is they're not going to say anything to you at all because they don't even know you exist. You don't even matter. And I know I'm talking to somebody specific, but there are a lot of people that applies to, a lot of brown tooth people that applies to. But that's beside the point, y'all. We done got all off track. The whole point that I am making is that what a day as an adult in my 30s to grow up really thinking that our democracy was safe. I grew up really thinking that, oh, none of those things can happen. We have a constitution, we have laws now, we have several checks and balances. That was the biggest hoo-ha I ever believed. I really thought we had checks and balances. The checks and balances only applied when there's a Democrat in office. Let's just be real. When it's a Republican, they're like, give him whatever he wants, as long as he's killing our citizens. But besides that, the point that I am making is, I really grew up thinking that our rights and our liberties were safe. Now that it's clear that they're not as safe as I thought they were, and now that this is the time in the present that will reverberate throughout history, beat my ass, we just gonna keep pushing. This is the time right now that will reverberate through history, and people could use their platform to speak up. Why are they the only two that's doing it? They're not elected officials. And it's clear that other public figures, particularly that orange weirdo in the Oval Office, him and his squarehead buddy on ketamine, allegedly, they clearly clock in everything they do. They're obsessed with them, especially Trump. He can't keep Harry name out his mouth. So if you're going to be watching them, why don't you take some notes while you're there? If you're going to be watching them, why don't you learn something? What did Tyra Banks say? Learn something from this. Trump, learn something from this. JD Vance, learn something from this. Everybody who is supposed to be protecting our democracy, learn something from this. If you're going to be watching them, if you're going to watch them close enough to put them in your little weird headlines and your little weird clickbait and edit your little weird AI pictures, if you're going to be watching them, take some notes. Make that time worthwhile, because they're clearly tapped in, and they're clearly the only people, the only public figures that give a damn about us. I never thought I would be saying that a British prince had to come over here and save us. Like, who would have thought? The irony, right? Like, is that not ironic that the only one preaching about democracy is from the British royal family? Like, it's just, you know what? I almost wish that I could reincarnate and come back in 100 years from now and look back and see what the hell ended up happening. Because this is ironic, is it not? I'm glad they're here, and I'm glad that America is treating them well. We're treating them well. I didn't say anything about our president. He doesn't exist. He doesn't matter to me. But I'm glad that we're here and we're acknowledging what they do, because it's me, it's you, it's people like us who actually live in the real world, who recognize the benefit of them being here and the work that they do. It's us who know what it is to have a job that we have to get up and go to every day. Well, I used to, but I watch my husband go every day. It's us that have to make sacrifices and make budgets and pay bills and make 5-year goals and 10-year goals and 3-year goals. And it's us who live in the real world who have to deal with the impact of our rights and liberties becoming variables now, not even concrete. It's us who have to get up every day and face the world. It's us that actually have to live in the world that our government is creating for us. And they're doing a terrible job of doing that. We get it, because we know what it is to either struggle or to thrive, but all of that be at the behest of our own effort. We didn't have, most of us, some of y'all did now, some of y'all been balling for a while, but I didn't grow up with a real estate tycoon as my granddaddy and my great-granddaddy and my great-granddaddy's great-granddaddy. I didn't grow up and stumble upon Nikola Tesla's stolen information in my uncle's garage. Like, let me not, because I've been kind of going in on the orange turd a lot today. But my point is, a lot of us didn't grow up with a whole lot of privilege and nepotism and all that stuff working for our benefit. So a lot of us, whatever we have right now, we had to get it out the mud. We had to get it at our own parents' very hard work and sacrifice. Most of our parents and grandparents, I know mine do, have callus on their hands. And everything I have today is a literal direct reflection of the hard work and the 8 jobs my granddaddy held for the majority of my life. A lot of what we have today was cultivated because of what we had to do. And a lot of that wasn't fun or pretty. So when people toggle our rights like they're juggling balls in the air, no, that shit isn't fun. And it's very noticeable to us who have to live in the real world how much of a benefit what they do actually is. So it's not surprising when people like me and you champion the fact that more public figures need to follow their blueprints. We shouldn't have to sit here and deal with someone carrying out their, let me hush, their inadequacy issues on the White House. Like, what did Obama say? It would be funny if it wasn't sad. Like, we shouldn't have to worry about our lives crashing and burning because you're incompetent in a number of ways. So when we see public figures who actually take their position in the world very seriously and are selfless, especially to this degree, like, that's extremely abnormal. Like, if they were just offering $1 million donations once a year, or even $500,000 in donations once a year, I would still be praising them, because that's still a whole lot more than most people do, and a whole lot more than most people can do. But the fact that they're actually devoted to service, I think we've been watching it for so long that it can be easy to get used to it. But I never want us to forget that it's a damn miracle. And it would be even better if the people who watch them and clock them and obsess over them, okay, keep doing that. Fine, you're clearly addicted to them. But instead of writing that nasty article, instead of writing that nasty headline, instead of writing that nasty tweet or what have you, or making little weak ass YouTube videos talking shit about them when you could just not talk about them at all and talk about something you like, instead of doing all the little negative things you do when you watch them, why don't you pull out a pen and a pad and take some notes? Because we could use a whole lot more Harrys and Meghans. Harry isn't even an American, and he spoke more truth in that one speech than our current president has spoken and could speak in 45 lifetimes, or make that 47. It would be wonderful if more people who watch them would make use of that time, because they don't have to do anything that they don't want to do. And I'm actually fearful of what'll happen when they choose to retire, or should they ever decide to stop, or they've lived out their lives. Who's going to carry the torch? Probably just their kids, because there's not enough people actually stepping up to the plate who have the means to do so. Most people who donate, most people who volunteer, most people who contribute are people who can barely even afford to do that, but they still do. Meanwhile, the people who are mega rich and don't even use their riches to pay taxes, and if they pay taxes, we wouldn't need to volunteer and donate as much as we do, but that's a conversation for another day. Those who have it to give don't. And that's what's so unsettling. And I think personally, when rich people and privileged people and political or politicians, when they come at them, I think that's exactly why. Because the more they operate the way they do, the more of a highlight it is how little everyone else does. And I think that's why they're really mad. Aside from the racism and the misogyny and just the general jealousy of it all. There's not a lot of love in this world. And so when you see two people in love, already that ruffles feathers. But then when you see two rich ass people in love, oh, they're really mad. And then you see two rich ass people in love with a conscience and a moral code who actually give back and have the best fan base in the world. Hey, y'all. Of course they're jealous, but they could channel that jealousy into helping people. And they can do it right here in our backyard. There's a lot of people who need help. A lot of people. And I think they threaten the status quo, because what they expected is, oh my God, you're coming up on billionaire status. Join us. Be elite. Close the door and build the fence. Don't hang out with those lessers. Don't help those lessers. Sure, have a little foundation or something to make it look like you're doing something like the rest of us. Have a church or whatever to launder your money. But don't actually do anything, because if they don't stay poor, we can't stay rich. We get rich on exploiting them. So how dare you work for your money? How dare you avoid exploiting people to get rich, something most people can't do? And how dare you turn around and give it back? How do you think that makes the rest of us look? About as awful as you look, and as awful as you've been looking. So don't blame Harry and Meghan for being leaders, literal leaders, and they don't even hold public office. Blame yourself. Why are you wasting our time? You could just be rich and get out the way. You could be rich and get out. Why do you have to have world domination? Why do y'all have to try to create an oligarchy? If I owned Meta, if I owned all this other stuff, Trump's real estate empire, if I owned PayPal and Tesla, do y'all know how y'all would never see my black ass again? Because I would be living high on the hog. Oh, I'm country. Sometimes I remember how country I am, and then I'll say something like that, and then I'll be like, girl, maybe coming to Texas wasn't the best idea. But no, I would be straight chilling. I would not have time to try to go for world domination because I would be booking my 8th massage today. Like, absolutely, I would not be trying to take over the world because I'm also not an evil comic book villain. But the fact that we're watching this happen and there are still people, but Meghan's hemline, it makes me want to put a boot in their face. I probably would if I didn't think they would be disappointed in me if they found out about it. Like, I would probably put a boot in a lot of reporters' faces if I didn't think I would be filled with shame should they ever learn my name and realize what I've done. You know what? They might want to thank Harry and Meghan for keeping me off their ass. Because if I weren't shamed with what Harry and Meghan and my husband would say about me, and my granddaddy looking down on me would be like, she finally got him. Dang. Like, if I weren't afraid of that shame, I might throw a heel or something, thump a rubber band, something, because they definitely deserve a boot in the chest. Now, anyway, we have a lot more to get to, but I have been chatting too long. We need to get to some of these comments. So first, I'm going to start with, hey, Black Queen. Black Queen says, can you believe those mediocre left behinders keep trying it with their failed carbon copy as if... No, you know what? You know, it used to get on my nerves when they would copy. And now I'm almost embarrassed for them. I almost want to just write a letter and be like, hey, I know you have a depleted comms team, so I'm not expecting a response, but I hope you do read my letter. And I hope you realize how crazy you look when you copy Harry and Meghan. I would want to avoid any comparison to them at all, especially if the most exciting thing about me was that I went missing. Do you know how boring you got to be for your missing status to be the most exciting thing you've done in 20 years? It's like the best thing you could have done for your country is to go away. Like, oh my God, I would be humiliated. So I wouldn't want any kind of comparison whatsoever. But we have acknowledged that they aren't that smart. And that's why they keep making the same ridiculous, egregious mistakes that they've always been making. Hi, Antoinette Johnson. Thank you so much for becoming a member. Welcome. I hope you enjoy your membership and go ahead and start using those emojis. I know that's right. Hi, Queen Berta Sanchez. Queen Berta Sanchez responded to something I said. She said, yes, Mrs. Sharion, my daughter had that experience. The woman behind her handed the cashier the money and told my daughter, God has blessed me, and now I'm blessing you. And she went on to explain that her daughter's husband at that time had deposited his check, but the bank had not put the money in his account yet. I hate that they do that because they don't waste no time taking it out, but they take all the time in the world to deposit and to refund. But no, that's actually happened to me too at Winn-Dixie. I grabbed my husband's debit card, his old debit card, instead of my debit card, and it had been discontinued, so I couldn't use it. And so I get up there, I just get my groceries. I know I'm about to go home and eat good. I got all my snacks, and I go to the Winn-Dixie. I go to purchase the stuff, and the card declines. And the woman goes, would you like to try for, it was like the little Winn-Dixie shopper credit thing to get a discount. She's like, well, I'd like to go ahead and try that. Seems like you're struggling to afford this. The cashier said that, not another patron. I reported her. I wrote a nice, nasty email to Winn-Dixie corporate, but she sure did. My husband had to come up there and pay for the groceries. First of all, and that was embarrassing as well, because don't nobody ever want to be rescued. Like, girl, you couldn't even buy groceries by yourself. Like, that was so embarrassing. And he will bring that up from time to time to make fun of me. But I'm glad that someone was much nicer to your daughter, Queen Berta Sanchez, because that is an awkward situation. Hi, Avid Reader. Avid Reader says, but how would the haters make their discrimination dollars? This was in response to me saying they need to stop writing the negative comments about Harry and Meghan and the clickbait. And you are absolutely right. They are solely dependent on hatred for their livelihood. Doesn't that say something? I don't know that I could live with myself if that was the case. If I genuinely devoted my life to being a cretin on this earth, a bottom-dwelling whore, I genuinely would not want to live with myself. I would go in a whole different line of work. I would not even do it. But you know what? Those people don't have any shame. See, there is something to be said about just a little bit of shame. I don't want people, walking this earth feeling like they have to be self-conscious, but I feel like a little bit of self-awareness, a little bit of shame. Like, you know what? That is beneath me. That goes a long way. And when people act the way those derangers act, especially derangers with a microphone and a pen and a pad, people in position to actually have an audience, and they use it to be ugly to Harry and Meghan, that's how I know they don't have a moral compass and they don't have a bottom floor. that tells me a lot about how they feel about themselves. I remember one of my professors said, it should not be a radical statement, but it is. The way you treat others is how you feel about yourself. And see, I know I can be a little mean and surly. So I said, oh, absolutely not. The way I treat people is based on how they deserve to be treated. And he said, right, but your standards are based on how you feel about yourself, because there are certain things you would refuse to do because you are aware how it will make you look and what it will say about you. And so even when you respond to people in the way that they should be responded to, you still have a ceiling and a bottom floor because you have standards. And that has gone so far with me. And so when I see people who are mean and surly and nasty, people who lie on others, people who gossip and are cheap and tawdry, when I see people who have no qualms about being the worst version of themselves, I'm like, damn, you must be really sad inside, because you have no care in the world about what is and what is not beneath you. And the worst part is probably nothing. You think so little of yourself that there is no bottom floor. There is no standard. That's got to be a horrible way to live. Sometimes people's karma is literally just having to live with themselves. Hey, Black Queen. Black Queen says those pigs aren't equipped with a moral compass, sadly. Exactly. This is so timely because you were talking about something else, but honestly, you're correct. Sometimes those people genuinely just don't have it. And you know, one thing, some people haven't been taught, but you know right from wrong. When you get up in the world, you know what it is to be a good person, what it is to be a bad person. You know how to make decisions. And if you don't know the difference between right and wrong, you are legally insane. Legally, in a court of law, you are considered insane if you don't understand the difference between right and wrong. Then you don't need to be walking amongst the rest of us. Hi, Sonia Johnson. Sonia Johnson says, Sharion, Sade, should I cancel the membership to your channel for another kind? I am the only one with the symbol. Please advise. Oh, I don't know. Let me look into that for you, Sonia, because I have no idea anything about the symbols. Let me do a little investigating. You know I'm not the most IT savvy, so let me do some investigating. I'll be back with you. Hi, Tamiko Hinman. Tamiko says, you are so funny, Sharon. Thank you. Tell them thank you, Prince Harry and Duchess Meghan. Absolutely. I like to joke around and have a good time, but I'm not lying. I might tell a joke, but I won't tell a lie. I really am happy that we have people like this in the world, especially for people who might not have guidance, who might not have people in their lives who set a standard for them. It's good to have people that you look to for aspiration. There's always another level to aspire to. There's always another level to achieve. And so having people who can literally do it all, have done it all, and continue to do it all, and still do so with a moral compass and a conscience, we need more light like that in the world. Unfortunately, more often than not, good people do not win in the public eye. A lot of times good people aren't seen or watched or elevated or platformed. The people we have getting platformed now are just very bad people. And a lot of times to get successful, you have to cut a lot of corners. So that's why a lot of really bad people go really far in life, because they don't have a moral compass. They have no problem undercutting the next person, taking advantage of the next person, exploiting the next person. They don't have a problem with it. A lot of good people find themselves at the end of a road in a lot of careers because they refuse to take that next step because they know it's beneath them. And that just tells me we need more avenues for good people to win and to elevate and to be platformed and to get privilege and to get all the things that they want in this world. The world wasn't built that way. Unfortunately, the world was genuinely not built that way. And that is so sad. Hi, Corlita Simon. You've been a member, so this must just be a refresh. Thank you so much for becoming a member. I appreciate it. Okay, y'all. We have a whole lot more. The Duchess of Sussex declared this moment in her life her chapter of joy. For most of us, and hopefully all of us who watch this channel, that was a declaration heard round the world. And it filled all of us with happiness, and for a lot of us, relief. It's been a long road for Meghan, and she absolutely deserves to live out every single dream she has. But what about when the simple act of joy, savoring life's moments, indulging the things we love, and filling our life with purpose, becomes less of a declaration and more of an act of resistance? Well, for many, especially those in marginalized communities, and especially those of us in the Black communities, we recognize that joy, simple joy, is actually an act of resistance. I was reminded of this when one of my longtime viewers, Ameena Griffin, sent me an article written by Ari for keeponliving.com. I was excited to read this article because, one, this is kind of along the lines of things that I'm interested in my off time, but also it's at the intersection of the things that I love talking about on this channel. And as I read through the first half of this article, I immediately knew why Ameena sent it to me. So thank you so much, Ameena. Please let everybody in the chat know that it's you. Identify yourself, because I'm actually not sure what your handle is on YouTube, so please let me know. So for those of us who have not read this article, I'm going to be reading it today because I felt like it resonated with so much of what we discuss when it comes to Harry and Meghan on this channel. Once again, this is on Keep On Living, and that can be found at keeponliving.substack.com, or you can use the link in the description box below under sources. The title of this article is The Politics of Black Joy in Domestic Spaces, When Home Becomes an Act of Resistance. Black women finding joy at home threatens the social order, but we keep flourishing anyway. And this was written by Ari. There's something that stirs in the heart of America when Black women tend to their gardens, prepare Sunday dinners, or host celebrations in their homes. It's a discomfort that runs deep, so deep that many who feel it can't quite name what bothers them about seeing us in these moments of tranquility. The truth reveals itself in whispers, sideways glances, and unprovoked op-ed think pieces. They're unsettled by our joy. This discomfort isn't accidental. It's woven into the fabric of our nation's story. This is already good. During slavery, our foremothers were brought to this country to work, stripped of autonomy, and forced into back-breaking labor. We weren't granted the basic dignity of focusing on our own families, let alone our own well-being. We were expected to work the fields until our water broke, then return almost immediately after giving birth, our bodies still aching, our breasts painfully full. Yet through it all, we created home wherever we could find it, planting kitchen gardens with seeds passed down through generations, stitching quilts from fabric scraps, each piece holding a story, trading patterns and pieces with other Black women in acts of quiet solidarity. Black domesticity as resistance. Archaeological records tell fragments of our story, though much has been lost or deliberately destroyed. The remnants of our home lives, quilts, recipes, tools, are often framed as curiosities rather than treasures. But the evidence is clear. We lived. We laughed. We built homes that reflected safety and comfort, even when the world outside refused to grant it. After emancipation, this resilience was revolutionary. Southern states, desperate to maintain control over Black labor, passed laws making it mandatory for Black people to work for whites. These Black codes and vagrancy laws funneled us back into white domestic service. A cook for their kitchen, a washerwoman for their laundry, a gardener for their yard. Even struggling white households scraped together pennies to hire Black domestic workers, clinging to this symbol of whiteness and supposed superiority. Yet in the face of these attempts to restrict our autonomy, we created vibrant domestic lives of our own. Between washing other people's clothes and tending other people's children, we carved out precious moments for ourselves. We gardened and cooked in our own homes. We hosted dance parties for our teenagers, the music and laughter a defiant contrast to our forced servitude. We baked delicious birthday cakes. We filled our homes with flowers from our own gardens and furniture crafted by our own hands. We threw elaborate homegoing celebrations that honored our departed with dignity. We went on picnics, took vacations, fell in love. We lived fully because living fully was, and is, revolutionary. The evolution of domestic influence. As the Jim Crow era waned, white women turned to technology and convenience, washing machines, TV dinners, and boxed cake mixes. But even then, our images remained, Aunt Jemima, Uncle Ben the Cream of Wheat Chef, as branded mascots offering the comfort of Black servitude without actual Black presence. The rise of domestic influencers like Julia Child and Martha Stewart further codified domesticity as a white woman's domain. Stewart's recent Netflix series positioned her as the first influencer who showed everyday women that they could bring beauty to their homes. The narrative suggested that a whole generation of young women whose mothers had worked didn't know how to do things. This convenient amnesia erases centuries of Black domestic labor and expertise. While mainstream media elevated Stewart, Black households celebrated voices like Frida DeKnight, whose Date with a Dish in Ebony magazine became kitchen table scripture. Pioneers like Abby Fisher, Edna Lewis, and Lena Richard weren't waiting for outside validation. They preserved our culinary heritage, showing us the beauty of our own traditions. B. Smith's Be Smith with Style reached over 90% of U.S. households across 40 countries, speaking to Black audiences with authenticity that made her feel like family. When labeled the Black Martha Stewart, B. Smith pointedly observed, Martha Stewart has presented herself doing the things domestics and African Americans have done for years. We were always expected to redo the chairs and use everything in the garden. This is the legacy that I was left. Martha just got here first. Today's Black women in domestic spaces continue to face scrutiny. Oprah Winfrey's elaborate holiday parties and vast home gardens evoke criticism not just for their displays of wealth, but for her unapologetic joy. As Howard Stern sneered, you see her estates, her gardens, she kind of likes to show it off. Meghan Markle's upcoming Netflix series, With Love, Meghan, faces preemptive backlash with thinly veiled racism driving accusations of being boring or unrelatable before its January 15th premiere. Again, it's going to be on March 4th. The rise of trad wife content romanticizes domesticity as a return to simpler times. But whose times? When Black women prioritize joy, comfort, and leisure, it threatens a social order that never meant to include our peace. Reclaiming our joy and building legacy. Yet our focus isn't on their discomfort. It's on our joy, our wellness, and our community. When Black women prioritize self-care through providing comfort in our homes, we're honoring our ancestors while healing ourselves. That is a word. I love the way she phrased that. Wow, that kind of hit me in the chest. We're tending victory gardens that feed our families and our souls. We're hosting gatherings where laughter mingles with the aroma of family recipes. We're creating beautiful spaces filled with art that reflects our culture, textiles that tell our stories, and furniture arranged for connection and for show. I know that's right. Some will transform these skills into enterprises, consulting on home design, sharing recipes through cookbooks and blogs, teaching others to create beauty from whatever they have. Others will create sanctuaries solely for themselves and their loved ones, spaces where Black joy flows freely and rest is revolutionary. Both paths are equally valuable, equally powerful. Every garden tended is an echo of our ancestors' resilience. Every family recipe shared is a thread in our cultural tapestry. Every beautiful space created is a declaration that our comfort matters, our joy matters, our right to rest and create beauty matters. The future of Black domestic joy isn't about seeking validation. It's about recognizing that our traditions, our expertise, and our pleasure are inherently valuable. Whether we're sharing our grandmother's recipes on social media or simply enjoying Sunday dinner with family, we're reclaiming narratives that were never meant to include us. Our joy, like our freedom, was never theirs to give or take away. It was always ours to claim. And in claiming it through our gardens, our kitchens, our celebrations, our rest, we're not just making homes. We're building legacies of joy, wellness, and empowerment for generations to come. Now, I want y'all to see me when I do this, because that was a word. I am subscribing to you, Miss Ari, on keeponliving.substack.com, and I am about to offer a monthly donation so that I can read whatever you post. Thank you so much for that word. I want to start by saying, first, thank you so much to Ameena Griffin for sending that to me, and thank you to Ari for penning such an amazing piece. I feel like it definitely touched on a really unique, but also very commonplace experience for a lot of Black people, but especially Black women and those of us in the South. We get it the most. As a Black woman in Texas, I have had a lot of experiences. And one thing I can tell you that similar to what she's describing in this article, and one thing I can tell you is that there is a real hostility and aggression, very palpable, just this palpable disgust, honestly, that you can be met with when speaking to people and they realize that you are not seeking their validation, that you are joyful and happy, and that you're comfortable and not struggling. And I can assure you, it is not imagined. It is a very common attitude that people take when Black women are good. I'm not saying walking in and boasting about how much money's in my wallet or boasting about my new rims or boasting about my new Chanel. None of that. I mean, genuinely, when people realize that you're comfortable, a lot of people who are racist or people who are whatever, hold whatever bias against you, but it's almost always directed at Black women. When people realize that you're good, it's almost like it's their mission to humble you. And it doesn't just come from white people. There is a global anti-Blackness issue that we will talk about, which is why I never say that I am a person of color. I always make sure to say that I am Black, because that is its own unique experience. And I say that because I've had that experience a couple of times. I'll give you just one of the many examples. I used to work at this company called Chewbacca. I was a customer service manager when I first got there. And we would have these monthly icebreakers where we would do, monthly morale booster events where we would have potlucks and eat together. And then we would have an icebreaker session where we would ask really general, unassuming questions to the whole table. And for those of us who'd been there a while, we were encouraged to always participate so that new people felt more comfortable. And so, of course, I did that. And one of the main questions was, what's your favorite food? Because that is one of those things that one tells you a lot about people, tells you what their favorite recipe is, but also it's unassuming. So it's like hard to get offended by that. So it's an easy question to ask. And it's a good one because almost everybody has a favorite food. So it's one of those questions that gets everybody to participate. Well, my favorite food is grilled lobster on the shell. And so this is my third morale booster. They asked a question. It's my turn. I say grilled lobster. And this guy named Steven Bielefeld, he was the merchandising manager at the time. He whipped his old ass head around like he had whip flash. And he goes, "You always say lobster." Because it's still my favorite food, fool. My favorite food is going to change every 90 days. But then what's even more surprising, before I even got to answer him and respond to his hostility, I mean, he was wildly hostile, red-faced. Then our human resources manager, a Hispanic lady named Phoebe Barron, she goes, "We get it already. You can afford lobster." Completely put me on the spot at a table of like 30 people. I'm really taken aback because everybody has repeated their answer at this point, because we've only gotten through the people who've been there a while. So everyone has repeated their answer. No one had an issue when Corey said pepperoni pizza. No one had an issue when another lady said tilapia. But for some reason, when I said grilled lobster, it was a problem. And so I said, "Is it an issue that I like seafood?" And he was like, "It's like you want us to know you can afford it. That's all." And I said, well, for those of us who purchase lobster to cook at home, you would know that it's actually not expensive. It's no more expensive than any other meat or fish that you could buy. Now, if you're eating it out at like Capital Grill, yeah, it's going to cost you $30 or more. Usually they come in twin lobster tails, but I will say eat the beef tenderloin with twin lobster tails. It's about $60. It is worth it. Sorry, Capital Grill is my favorite restaurant. Ooh, let me not say that. But anyway, they got so upset and put me on the spot. Everybody is staring. And I'm just like, is it an issue that I'm participating in an icebreaker? And Steven goes, well, if you're going to participate, why do you keep saying the same answer? And I said, well, Steven, if you would leave your entitlement at the door, you would know that you don't have the right to ask me to change my answer simply because you've heard it before. If you don't like my answer, tough nuts. I don't care. And I said, and Phoebe, you're the human resources manager. I'm really surprised that you don't want me to participate, considering you asked me to participate so that new people would participate. But do you think they're going to feel comfortable participating now? Completely takes the fun out of the moment. Now, I'm one of those people, if I'm uncomfortable, oh, y'all gonna be uncomfortable. Don't put me on the spot if you ain't ready to wade in some bullshit. And so Phoebe was like, oh, we're joking. I said, ha ha. That lady hated me from that point forward, and so did Stephen. He took it upon himself to constantly push back on anything I said. I remember the owner of the company mentioned that I was born in Germany. And he was like, I lived in Germany when I was in the army. She wasn't born there. And the owner was like, yeah, she was born there. Like, we had to take her information. She was born there. And he was like, what was she doing in Germany? And one of the owners was like, why do you care? Like, he clocked it, and he was a white man. And that's one of those things I say about being an ally. You can't just be an ally in theory. When you recognize that someone is being anti-Black or racist, and you are a person who is not directly affected by that, but you recognize the hostility or the disrespect, you are part of the problem if you don't speak up as well, or at least back up the person who does. As an ally, you should also intervene. You should also clock it. You should also recognize it. There should not be comfort when people behave that way from anyone. And so that's just one example of how when people realize that maybe you aren't who they pictured you to be or who they said you should be, how hostile they can get, especially towards Black women. I've mentioned this before, the hostility that came my way when people realized that I was a stay-at-home wife and not a stay-at-home mom. There was a doctor in Boca Raton who was literally just beside himself when he was like, you didn't put your occupation on the intake info. And I was like, I don't work. And he was like, okay, stay-at-home mom. I said, I don't have any kids. I'm a stay-at-home wife. And he goes, oh, so you don't have kids, but you stay at home? I said, is any of this pertinent to my fibroids? Like, excuse me. And he was like, oh, I mean, you're just really young to be a stay-at-home mom. And I was like, a lot of stay-at-home wives are in their 30s, and I am 36. I know a lot of women my age who don't work. And he was like, sure, okay. Like, there was this very present hostility. And those are just two examples. And my grandmother was a stay-at-home mom and a stay-at-home wife. And she grew up very comfortable financially. Her dad bought her first house for her and her husband as a gift. Like, she grew up very, very comfortable. So women, particularly Black women, in comfort is nothing new to me. And as a matter of fact, I didn't realize, and it's not new to a lot of people. Let's be very clear. It's not new to a lot of people. I knew a lot of stay-at-home wives and moms in Mount Pleasant, where my whole family grew up, and Black stay-at-home wives and moms. And I say that to say, I didn't realize how abnormal that was to people outside of our community. Now, in every community, there are people who don't work. There are people who don't struggle. There are people who live well, and there are people who live below the poverty line. Every community has a variation of people because you're not monolithic. But for some reason, when Black people live across the span and the spectrum of all the different lifestyles that are available to the humankind, when Black people are not below the poverty line and struggling or seeking validation or yes, massa, I love you, when we're not in a performance, when we're not shucking and jiving, when we're not playing step and fetch it, no offense to him, I mean, his legacy is what it is, but it is what it is. When we're not performing for white validation, and when we're not struggling for their struggle porn addiction, for some reason, we're either considered liars or we're considered going against the status quo, and we're met with hostility. And so when this article pointed out, we're not seeking validation. We're not focused on your discomfort. We're focused on our joy. I could not resonate with anything more than that line. I could not repeat that enough times for people to understand how real that is. People take it, other people outside of our community seem to take it personally offensive when you live by your own means. And that is what pisses people off about Meghan daring to live her life despite whatever people feel. Because the very beginning of her relationship with Harry, too many people across this world said he shouldn't have picked her. Who does she think she is? Why didn't he pick one of us? Well, I can tell you, if you watch With Love Meghan, you'll see all the many things about Meghan that make her lovable, that make her happy, that make her laugh infectious, that make her fans adore her. You'll see all the many sides to Meghan that made Harry fall in love. And don't ask yourself why Harry picked her. Ask why they picked one another, because she had her pick of suitors as well. And that is why we say they're equally yoked. Y'all let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I just wanted to take a super short break to say, if you have not already, please don't forget to go ahead and like this video, subscribe to the channel, and if you are interested, feel free to participate in the live chat going on now, or feel free to leave a comment if you do not wish to engage in the live chat. Once again, I know I do this all the time. I'm enjoying a channel, I'm enjoying the video, I'm just having a great time, and I completely forget to hit subscribe. So please don't forget to hit subscribe. Don't forget to comment if you wish, and please don't forget to hit that thumbs up button so that the algorithm on YouTube knows that you like my content. Now, let's get back to the show. I couldn't pick music. I was like, what do I feel like listening to now? The other music was too polite for how I've been feeling. I was kind of going off to the little sweet music earlier. But no, I wanted to elaborate on that because honestly, Meghan's joy, it shouldn't be an act of resistance. Oh, but it is. It absolutely is. Her daring to be happy in the face of everything she's experienced tells them that they did not win. And let me tell you how that is eating them up. You know, a big part of me feels like the people who have been targeting her specifically do that because they want to have the satisfaction of knowing that you may have gotten the prince, but we're going to make sure you don't get to enjoy it. And I think that's really what it's rooted in. Outside of obviously racism and misogyny, I think they just don't want her to enjoy a life that they feel they're entitled to. And I feel like that's the driving force behind a lot of those hostile comments, that hostile attitude towards women of color and Black women specifically, who live in a way that other people feel like we shouldn't be able to live. And that's why I made it clear that that is not just coming from one group. That does come from a certain type of person who exists in almost every race, even our own. There are a lot of people inside our community as well as outside who feel like to not be in service or in labor to someone else is a crime against humanity, because what do you mean you're wasting all of that good Black laborious blood? Like, they act like we were built and bred to work. And for a long time, they tried to play us for fools and make us do that. But that was because, you know, we had a whole lot of stuff going on. They had guns and they manipulated us to get on those ships. And we didn't hear the end of it. But we finally got out of that, and they have not let it go. They haven't let it go. Like, how dare you exist and not make my life easier? The hell? Like, they act like it's an attack. I also feel like, and the reason I used to not say people's names when I would talk about them, but at this point, if you wanted me to talk about you better, you should have acted better. That's why I name names now, and I name the companies, because if you wanted me to have a better experience, you should have made sure I had a better experience. So I name names now. And when that man, Steven, almost lost, that man was in his late 50s, pissed off that a 28-year-old woman said, "My favorite food is lobster." Do you know how close-minded you have to be to place food within a certain class? You know how racist you probably have to be racist against food? Good God, when do you take a break? I don't get it. And a lot of people have that attitude. Even people in my own family were like, "You're not working no more. Then what you gonna do all day?" First of all, that's my damn business. But just so happens I decided to go back to school. So, I need the time to study. But for some reason, people were really bothered by that. And, the first thing they do is try to inflict fear. The first thing people do, you got to watch who you let speak over your life. And that's when I decided everything ain't everybody's business, because people will literally speak ill over your life and they'll act like it's out of concern, but really they are wishing it into your world. You have to watch people, because the first thing people do who are hating on you, they will speak ill into your life. They will speak fear over your name. They will speak pain and destruction over your existence. Believe me when I tell you, the first thing they say, "Oh, well, hopefully he don't lose his job. Hopefully you got savings. You got enough savings for a year. You got everything." Like, You genuinely think I left the corporate world making what I was making and I didn't make provisions that would sustain us and keep us cool for a very long? You think I really don't plan ahead? like, are you kidding me? Especially since I was a finance manager. That was the first thing I did in the first year of my employ, was set everything up the way I needed it to. And that was before I got married. And so, and my husband is a very intelligent, but like, if you're asking that, you don't know me well enough to ask that. That's kind of how I saw that. And so that's why I say you have to be mindful. People really don't want you to enjoy your blessings. Now I understand being cautious, because I get that. When I left the corporate world, my granddaddy, who took care of my grandmama didn't lift a finger. She cooked and she cleaned, but that's because she wanted to. Because there was many a day where she was like, not today. I'd rather go shopping. And she did. And the funniest part, I haven't gotten to this level yet. When my grandmama wanted to go shopping, the funniest part, she didn't even drive herself and wouldn't carry a purse. That was sending a very clear message to this man. Like, oh no, I'm going shopping. We going shopping. But you know what? One day. But no, when I told my granddaddy that I was leaving work, someone who really believes in people having liberation and living the way they want to, and God will provide. He was a pastor, so he fully believed in, God will provide. But his response was, as long as you are happy and fulfilled, do whatever you want to do. And that was the thing that made me say, well, dang, maybe I don't want to retire. Maybe I need a pivot. And I decided to spend a year just enjoying my life and talking to you all. And then I went back to school. And when I told him I was going back to school to become a therapist, he said, I was hoping you would say that, because that is your calling. And so there's a way to express concern without speaking ill over people's lives. And so I share that to say the whole pushback, the hostility that comes from people when Black women specifically, but also Black men, or even people who have previously been in poverty, regardless of race, when people see you elevate or live in a way that they don't think you should, they immediately push back. There's something about people with that mindset that feels like if you elevate, then that closes the margins between us and it makes me smaller. And that's why I say everything you do reflects you, no matter who you're talking to. Because the first thing you do, or the first thing you think, is to speak ill over someone's situation, you are deeply, deeply unsettled with yourself. If someone has to stay small for you to feel big, you aren't big. If someone has to dim their light for you to shine, baby, you don't have no shine. You don't have anything, because no one else's situation should reflect on you. When I hear about people, good or bad, it never makes me think about myself. So if somebody says, guess what? I got a record deal. I'm about to be the next Beyonce. The first thing I'm going to say is, girl, give me some tickets. I'm going to say, congratulations. I'm glad you got to where you wanted to go. I know that's right. I wouldn't stop and think like, she said that to me 6 days before my birthday to try to take my shine. Like I genuinely wouldn't think about how that reflects on me, because I love me enough and I think enough of myself to not need to center myself to feel important. So when people go that route and they try to be hostile because you're happy, that is all about them. And one of the things that I love most about the way Meghan is serving those people up something raw in their face, she is making those people hate life, is the fact that she's not even trying to. Her simply existing sticks it to them in the best way. The fact that she doesn't give a damn how many critical think pieces they put out, how many rude videos they put out, how many negative comments. The fact that she could not care any less kills them more than anything she could ever say. The fact that every time they see that lady, she got a grin from ear to ear. The fact that every time they see that lady, she is dressed down to the nines. The fact every time they see that lady, she looks good, body is tea, makeup on point, and then makeup list is on point, hair thriving and shining. She got her long locks and waves, jewelry on point, and they cannot stand when she wears her mother-in-law's watch. Ooh, they can't take it. Every time she makes any adjustment to her engagement ring, or Harry makes any adjustment to it, that's the 75 articles. It looks like Meghan added a stone. Will y'all let that lady and her husband be married and enjoy their milestones the way they want to? Isn't that nice? Like, wouldn't it be nice if y'all just let them do that? But no, they can't, because they're obsessed. And one thing I will say, hopefully, I doubt it, but I hope one of those haters are in this chat right now. I hope y'all are watching, because I know you do, because you get in the comments and be rude to me. I delete them. But hopefully one of you haters are in there, and because I want to offer you some advice. Don't say I never gave you anything, because I'm about to give you something now. If you focus less on thinking about how Meghan doesn't deserve the amazing things and blessings and the things that she's worked for in her life, if you would spend less time thinking about how she doesn't deserve those things in your mind, and you focused more on what you think you do deserve, and you started operating in that mindset and walking that path and getting in alignment with your own destiny, guess what? Guess. You'll get to where you want to be, so that you're not so miserable that you have to look at other people and pray to God that they have some misery in their life. It's like those people, if I can just pretend that you are miserable when the cameras go off, and you're miserable when the lights go down and the doors are closed and no one else is there, if I can just pretend that you are not happy with all the things that you have that I'm jealous of, then I can sleep at night. And let me tell you, baby, if that is really something you need to make yourself feel good, you are deeply disturbed and unhappy, and probably a little crazy. You might want to go talk to the lady. And I say that with kindness. It's the only kindness those derangers gonna get from me. Go get some help and some self-esteem. You know what's so interesting? I saw a tweet or a thread the other day that said a lot of people on Instagram are living a life, pretending for the cameras, are living a life that they don't really live. So the next time you get jealous of someone because their life looks perfect, remember that those people are deeply miserable when the cameras go off. I read that thread 3 or 4 times. I said, okay, I'm going to save it and come back to it, because maybe I'm not reading it right. And I read it a couple of times. And then I came back to it, and I just responded to and I usually don't respond to people if it's something that I can't just be positive about, but I responded and I said, my dear, if you need to imagine people are miserable in their private time for you to stop being jealous, they are not the problem. You're going to be jealous anyway. And that jealousy is coming from a place of deep dissatisfaction with yourself. I pray that instead of wishing ill on others, you wish blessings and prosperity on yourself. And I'm going to start. God bless you. And I left them with that. Now, they responded to me with a whole bunch of other stuff. They didn't respond with a God bless Sharion, but that's okay. That's okay. I got the best blessing me. I'm cool. But they responded with a lot of hostility, which told me I was right. Because how dare you? Can you imagine posting your birthday and then posting your husband's work anniversary and then posting your child's school play, and you just sharing the best parts of your life that one day you might want to go back and scroll, or you want to share with the people who love you, who follow you. And one of those people watching you with the evil eye, like, oh, wow, your child got #1 at the recital. You're probably deeply disturbed at home. Like, do you know how crazy you have to be? I can tell you, those are the same people who create derangers. Those are the same people who occupy that group. They're insane. And the thing that drives them the most crazy is being happy in spite of. Because one thing they can't take is that they cannot steal her joy. They tried to take her royal status. They tried to take her title. They tried to take her husband. They tried to take her life because they hated themselves that much. Meghan does not have to answer to your misery. Harry does not have to answer to your misery. You need to answer for that. You need to go talk to the lady. He did. He realized, and with her help, I have some things I need to work through. And he did. Isn't it crazy how that worked? Isn't it crazy how Harry, who knew he had anger issues and knew he went red mist, he knew he had those issues as he described in Spare. He didn't go blaming everybody else. He didn't come get in my chat and say, hey, Sharion, I hate your stinking ugly guts and your bun is trash. Now, wait a minute. You want to start a fight. Now that's how you do it. But no, he didn't get in my chat. He didn't come and talk to you all and say, you suck. He didn't go express out. He went and looked in. Isn't it crazy how that worked? And then look at how his life unfolded. Got the best wife. She got the best husband. They're already equally yoked. They became even closer. They went on to have a wonderful life in spite of, as a matter of fact, he did so much work with her help and vice versa, that the more y'all try to hurt them, the more it drives them to not only together, but into more prosperity. Keep sending that energy there. Miss Ma'am is an alchemist. I saw that evil eye on her wrist. She will give you a good return to sender with a smile on her face. And that is really what's killing you. They think that, see, listen, I'm an old country lady from the South. I know what it looks like to see somebody jealous and angry because they feel like you disrupt the social order. How dare you come from a family who loves each other with strong marriages and wealth and comfort? How dare you decide, I don't feel like working and I won't? How dare you not have children and little rugrats to run after, which is so messed up, because what if I couldn't have kids? And the fact that people always want to bring that up, you stay at home wife, why you don't have kids? What if I couldn't? I can. I've chosen not to. But what if I couldn't? Wouldn't that just be ugly? And that's how I know those people don't have souls, because they don't care what kind of nerve they have to hit, as long as in their mind, they were able to rain on your parade. They won a small battle with you, but they were the only ones battling. I'm too happy to battle. And I'm only one of many people who have that experience. That's why I recognize the people who hate on her so well, because I've experienced that as well. And I've had my fair share of struggles. I mean, everybody has. And I've also had my fair share of blessings. How dare you ask me to not experience and live out one of my blessings because you don't think I deserve it? Not even because you want it, but because you don't think I deserve it. Do you know how evil you have to be? Do you know how unhappy you have to be? I think that's also why the people who support them, we also have a certain type of mindset. I've noticed the majority of the people who support Harry and Meghan, or the people who I can verify are actual squatties, not the people who come over here and try to disrupt and create discord, but the people who actually support Harry and Meghan, several things we have in common. We all seem like generally happy people. Have you noticed that? We seem like generally happy people. I see people come into the chat and share so many amazing stories about their lives, what they've been doing today, what they're cooking for dinner, how was work today. I always talk about Tamiko Hinman is in her grad program. We share about our lives because we're all doing something that we want to do and that we enjoy, i.e., we're happy, we're settled, we're content. We went out and did the things we wanted to do, which is why when we're doing the things that we want to do, we don't have to hate on someone else doing the same, because we're fulfilled. It's only those mean, surly, sour pusses who aren't doing what they want to do, or aren't married to who they want to be married to, or who they think should have chose them. Kinsey. It's those people that spew the most hatred. And I don't talk about this man often. I'll just say PM. You know who I'm talking about? I try not to say that man's name because I hate him. Genuinely, I don't even hate him because I don't give him that much, but I just genuinely don't like that man. PM, Pissy Morgan. When he went on his tirade against her, all of us knew exactly what that was. And when he made up that lie that they were on a date, and everybody said, now wait a minute. Now come on now. That's a long, slippery slope from you to Harry. Now, come on now. We know Miss Ma'am has a standard. Then it turned out it was a work event because they were promoting Suits. He really wanted us to think he was on a date. We all knew what that was. He was jealous. Oh, he was jealous. It was eating him up. That man was complaining that she wasn't interested in him, without saying she wasn't interested in him. All of us could read between the lines. We were all like, dude, I think that meant a lot more to you than it meant to her. I don't even think she remembered meeting you. I think you were the press to her. This man tried to play like they were on a date. Turns out it was the cast of Suits meeting with the press. That man is so deeply miserable that he even deluded himself. Meanwhile, the man was married at the time. Like, the hits just keep on coming. All of us knew exactly what that was when he said, oh, we finished our date and I put her in a car and she went to see Harry. Wrong. We know everything they did the day of their first date and the day of their second date. Well, the day of their first meetup and then the day of their first official date. We know all about it. And Pissy Morgan, you weren't part of it. But he loved telling that story in the beginning. Notice he hasn't told that story since Spare came out. Clocked his teeth. So all I'm saying is that kind of resistance, that hostility, that anger that meets people who are truly joyful. And I'll even exacerbate that. I'll take it out of the context of racism. Have you ever just been having a really good day? Have you ever just been in a really chipper mood and a really jolly mood? And the first thing some people, not all, some people will do is try to bring you back down. I've always been a pretty chipper person. It don't make me stupid. I've always been chipper. Just genuinely, I just like to be happy. I enjoy being happy. And I really do like being alive. Like, that's always been something that's just been present in my mind. I don't know what happened to me in a past life, but I love being alive. If I'm not happy about anything else, I will literally be like, you know, I might not be here. Like, I enjoy it, girl. Like, you can go do stuff. And so growing up, I always encountered people who would kind of mock me. So like, I would come in and be like, hey, how y'all doing? And people, we're doing good. And when I was younger, I didn't know how to receive that. I saw it as the jealousy that it was, like mocking me. And that would not just happen with strangers. My family, some people in my family used to do that, like try to put me down like that. And for a long time, I didn't take it personal, and I still don't. But at some point I said, oh, I'm gonna start responding to this, because just like you got side A, you can certainly get side B. And we know what B stands for. And so I remember the day I realized that I'm cool with wherever this goes. And I kind of just came into my own as an adult. I think I was like 16. And I was like, you know what? If we gonna argue, we gonna do it. Because I'm not gonna be the only one uncomfortable. And I feel like it was my band director. I walked in and I just was smiling. I walked in and I grabbed my clarinet and he was like, what are you so happy about? I said, I seem like I have a whole lot more reasons to be happy than you do. And this, mind you, I'm 16. This grown ass man, his name is John Young. He turns around, he said, excuse me? I said, excuse you. He goes, you need to fix your attitude. I said, you first. Now, I personally thought he was going to kick me out of the band. He said, and walked into his office. And because you didn't have to bother me, like you genuinely could have just left me alone. But that was the day I said, no more. Even people in my family, when I come in, I'm like, hey, y'all. Hey, yeah. I would stop and say, are you okay? That was really weird. Make people explain things. When you're not sure how to take something, make them explain and say, oh, wow, what did that tone mean? What were you trying to say with that tone? Make them explain and they'll realize how stupid they are and how stupid they look. Now I push back because you aren't going to steal my joy, but you're certainly not going to walk all over me. And a lot of people, if they can't make or cultivate joy of their own, first order of business is to take yours. And I am so glad, not just Meghan, but the many, many, many women that came before her and the many, many, many girls that will become women that will follow in her footsteps, saying no more. I've given you all the tears that you are allowed in this lifetime because you didn't even deserve that. You can get over there with your straw-haired mammy and your old greasy granny with the hole in her panty, and y'all can be miserable together. But as far as me and my house, me and mine, the mind that got you all ruffled, we're going to enjoy our life. Sure, I'm going to show you little glimpses of our house. I'm going to show you our garden. Yes, you know I'm rich, and now you get to see it too. I know they cannot stand that woman gardens. She got chickens, 2 beautiful, healthy kids, a beautiful, healthy husband. Ooh, it eats them up. And every time she appears on our screen, just carefree, fancy foot, and footloose and carefree and fancy free, and dancing and singing and being silly. Do you know how much joy you have to just be silly? A lot of us lose that as we become adults because we become self-conscious, apprehensive. We have to think about is this appropriate in this environment? And blah, blah, blah. Adulthood will really suck the life out of you if you let it. But do y'all remember how happy you were as a kid when you were just being silly, goofing around, having fun, laughing at all the crazy stuff, or getting in those laugh fits with your siblings where everything is funny and you getting on your mama last nerve, which makes it even funnier? Bring that joy back. Have fun. I know people can't stand me and my husband sometimes because we are goofy as hell, especially when we are together and we think people not paying attention. We crack jokes the whole time. Now, what's funny is when we know people are aware of us, like at a dinner or at a family function, whatever, we just kind of posh and like, hi, how are you? It's nice to see you. But then as soon as we can kind of go off by ourselves, same with my siblings, we cutting up. That's why we're not allowed to sit at church together, me and my siblings, because we have been separated. My granddaddy and my grandmama separated me and my sister, Sakia, in church one time. And from that point forward, we have never been allowed to sit with each other again because we're both so goofy. And so I love being joyful. So when I'm seeing Meghan and Harry cracking jokes and having fun and dancing and just being silly, that tells me everything I need to know about their state of being right now and where they plan to stay. So no matter what those people, and you know who I'm talking about, the PMs of the world and the JCs of the world and the DWs of the world, when they launch their attacks and they decide to outwardly express their own misery towards these two, I hope they know that they are just screaming into a void that their frequency can't even get low enough to hear you. They're just floating way too high. And what's funny about that is you can't reach them either. Now, what I do love is that Miss Meghan wears that return to sender on her wrist, and she has a necklace that's also the evil eye. Because if you look at how all her haters are doing, it's certainly working. She is absolutely an alchemist. I would hate to be an enemy of hers. I would never be an enemy of hers, but I'm saying those people must be really miserable to see somebody happy and say, let's bring them down. But that's all I have for y'all today. I'm going to get into some of these comments because I have talked y'all's ear off enough, because I'm going to tell you one thing too. We're at a time, like I said earlier, we're at a time in history where everything that happens at this point really, really matters. And the choices people are making are absolutely astounding me. I mean, since we've been in here, Trump has showed his ass on live TV. I think that man is trying to start a very, very bad situation for the world. I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to just say he is trying to start WW3. And I really hope there are enough sound minds in positions of power who can intervene while we still have time. But let me get to some of these comments. Hi, Sabri Brew. Thank you so much for becoming a member. I appreciate that. Welcome. Remember Church Nelly, she say, what is it? Welcome to the crazy farm. Welcome to the crazy farm. Hi, Miss September 15. Miss September 15 says, I agree. I'm 70 years old and I still remember whites only. And the day MLK was shot, it was so sad. Oh my God, I'm so sorry about that. But yes, that is very, very sad. I cannot even imagine what that must have been like. Oh my goodness. I remember one time I asked all my grandparents like random questions just to tell me about your life. So I'll be like, what was your favorite food growing up? Or like, did y'all have box cereal growing up? Or what did y'all eat in the household when you were little? Like, I'll ask like random questions. And for some reason, asking a very random, innocuous question to a person who has like lived through generations and lived through some historical moments, it'll always take my grandparents and my uncles and aunts like down a rabbit hole, and I'll end up learning some of the most amazing facts about them. So I just got in the habit of being like, Granddaddy, what was your favorite outfit to wear to school? Was there anything that you like to wear multiple times in a week? And he'd be like, well, I had some shorts with some suspenders on them, and the suspenders had a little gold buckle, and then we were there for hours. And so I remember asking my granddaddy and my grandmama Lula, I was like, do you remember when Martin Luther King Jr. died? And neither of them could talk about it. They are still deeply affected by that. And that told me everything I need to know. I genuinely thought enough time had passed, because I think I was like 11. I thought enough time had passed where they would be like, oh yeah, I remember that. Because they would often recount things that I was learning about, and they would tell me what it was like to live through that time. And neither of them could talk about it. Neither of them could. And that's always sat with me, the looks on both of their faces when they were just like, yeah, I remember that. And just move right on along. Hi, Black Queen. Black Queen says, did you hear the unroyal rat saying, see Kate makes jam? Oh my gosh, yes. Let me read the comment, because I saw that too. See Kate makes jam, but she's not advertising it. WTF, as if anyone who wants to live would want to take Broomhilda's jam. Yeah, no, I don't willingly eat out of witches' cauldrons, so no thanks. But yes, I did see that article. I did. And when I saw that, I cracked up. I said, first y'all tried to pull it was Charles first who had jam. Now y'all pulling the Kate makes jam. Yeah, right. We all saw her in those staged photos with her and her daughter Charlotte, where they were pretending to make cookies and she wasn't even holding the whisk the right way. Holding the whisk like them jumbo pencils you get in kindergarten. We were like, girl, you don't have to fake it, girl. We know you good. You got staff. You don't have to pretend. Hi, Avid Reader. Avid Reader says, if you believe Kate makes jam, then you should believe that I can spin straw into gold. Okay, come through, Rumpelstiltskin. Tell us another fairy tale, Kate. No, you know good and well she don't make jam. This is what I mean when I say they have no shame, because I don't like being embarrassed. I don't like making myself look crazy. If I decided, let's say I decided to hate on Beyonce today. I would never. But let's say I decided to lose my mind and hate on Beyonce, the Texas queen that she is. And I decide to come out and say, you know what? Beyonce might be able to sing, but baby, I can sing. And the moment somebody asked me to sing, I would crumble into oblivion. And that's exactly why I don't shoot my mouth off about silly things. I don't like looking stupid. And the rest of those leftover royals have no problem looking ridiculous. It's like somebody really did unplug their shame meter. Like at some point you have to tap into some self-awareness and be like, okay, I see the public loves her. Maybe I should stop putting myself against someone who's so beloved. And every weapon I try to form against this lady does not prosper. Maybe I should stop. I swear the leftover royals are operating like Wile E. Coyote. You remember when Wile E. Coyote, anything he tried to do to the Roadrunner would only end up hurting him? That was a message. We need to get back to cartoons with messages. But that's exactly how the royals are acting. Anything they try to do to Harry and Meghan just backfires. Kind of like Drake. Anything Drake do just backfires. Kendrick Lamar just serving it up to him. Hi, Miss September 15. Miss September 15 says, hey, Sharion, I've been listening to Diana in her own words, and they treated Diana so bad. Ooh, they did. I know this is off topic, but I just had to say that. Thank you for sharing. That's actually one of my favorite biographies. When you finish Miss September 15, feel free to go check out my Royal Reviews playlist. I recapped Diana, her true story, as I was getting through like section and section. So feel free to go check out my recap so you can hear some of my thoughts too, and comment and I'll respond so we can keep that conversation going. But yeah, that book revealed. So I read Diana, her true story after I read Spare. I don't know what I was prepared for. I genuinely don't, because growing up, I knew some of that stuff. My mom really liked Princess Diana. And so I knew some of that stuff. But I don't know that I had ever really grasped the gravity of it because I was so young and I hadn't actually read the book. So when I read Spare, I genuinely thought all of my shock at the royal family's behavior, I wouldn't have any left, and that it couldn't have been, Diana, her true story couldn't have been as bad as what I read in this. And boy, was I wrong. That family tortured mother and son and daughter-in-law. Absolutely did. That family has a lot to answer for. It's very sad, but thank you so much for sharing. Hi, Avid Reader. Avid Reader says, evil people thrive in chaos and discord. When it's peaceful, they are bitter, disgruntled, and eager to stir the pot. Yes, absolutely. When you have chaos and people are happy, watch them people. Because some people love to stir stuff up and stay in the eye of the storm so that nothing touches them, but they get to see everybody melt down. I'm always mindful of people who always got something to say about everybody. Because if you'll carry a bone, you'll bring a bone. Or if you bring a bone, you'll carry a bone. People who love chaos and mess and drama, The moment they get the chance, they're going to pull you right on in there. I remember I reconnected with a family member who I just love to death. I love this family member. Now they're kind of, we don't ever just get along. Now we struggle to communicate because we are just really too different. It's really that. And I have boundaries. And I reconnected with this person after years of not being around them. And I kid you not, for 6 days, we were talking on the phone, not reconnected in person. We didn't go on no family trip. We didn't, nothing. We reconnected and talked on the phone a couple of times. And when I tell you chaos entered my life in a big way, I felt like God was like, girl, I done told you to quit returning to the scene of the crime. Move on with your life. When that door is shut, leave it closed behind you. I learned my lesson because there was nothing but drama. I'm not even going to get into all of it, but I'll say this. That person called me complaining about their partner and all the awful things their partner did to them. And I said, this is only our second convo in like 3 years. And I said, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Don't tolerate that from people. You know, I shoot my mouth off. I said, don't tolerate that from people. Don't let people treat you like that. If he is treating you like that, as you say, then you deserve something better. And that lady had put that man on the phone and had him mute himself. He was listening to me tell her to leave him. She called me and told me all these bad things that he did. Clicked over, called him, told him to be quiet, and then muted him and clicked back over with me not knowing. And I'm just going off. Now, here's the thing. I don't say anything that I don't stand by. If I say it in a closed room, I'll say it in a microphone because nobody scared me. What you gonna do? And so he gets on the phone and he goes, what you say you talking about me? I said, are you the fool in question? And then he hung up. He went away. But after that, you know, I'm telling my husband and he said, that is absolutely diabolical. Like his face, my husband don't comment on a whole lot. He just usually was like, oh, wow. He said, that is absolutely diabolical. And I will rip that man from stem to sternum if he ever speaks to you that way again. So it's best that you make your words light with that lady. And he was absolutely right because she was trying to get me in some mess. That is crazy. I'm 37 years old arguing on the phone. Do you know how crazy that is? I got medicine I got to take. I don't have time to be arguing with you. I got to put cream on my feet at night. Like I'm that age now where if I don't put enough lotion on my feet, I can't sleep. Like I have real grown lady things to do. I don't have time to be on the phone on 3-way calls. Like I haven't done that since junior high. But I shared that to say, like, sometimes people coming into your life brings nothing but mess and chaos. And no matter how controlled and disciplined you are, just being in proximity to a person who is filled with that will change your life. You have to be careful who you associate with. That's why I'm so glad they cut everybody off. They cut people off and kept it going. I'm glad. Sometimes you have to do that because being in proximity to somebody can bring you down, even if you're trying to help them. I have seen throughout my life how situations I've been in, but also other people, sometimes helping other people will hurt yourself. You have to know what battle is yours and what battle is not. And that's a skill you acquire as you get older and get more discerning. But a lot of people who thrive in chaos, you have to watch them because instead of letting you pull them out, they will pull you in. And I learned my lesson. As soon as he gets to talking on the phone, I said, oh, well, wait, you done got the wrong one. I'm not her. I'll hurt your feelings. But no, I learned my lesson then. Hi, Melinda Shepherd. Melinda Shepherd says, proud member for 19 months. Thank you so much. Welcome. Love Sharion and Sade. And I love you too. I really appreciate that. That really means a lot to me. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Hi, Avid Reader. Avid Reader says, rumor has it every time the orange I gotta vet these comments so I can get through them. The orange demon attempts to tell the truth. He loses more hair. That's why he lies constantly without remorse. It's vanity. He may as well give it up because nothing is gonna save that appearance. He may as well just let it roll. Go and tell the truth, Trump. You ain't gonna look cute no way. Let it go. Hi, Rosita's. Rosita says, Sharion, you know we love your country. Thank you. See, I appreciate I could be myself because sometimes I'll listen back to something I've said and I'm like, how do they hear me? And just like, I would be like, Sharion, please vet these things, edit this a little more because you are too country for my ears. I sometimes imagine y'all's ears bleeding, but you're bleeding the Texas flat because sometimes I say stuff and I'm like, ooh, that was my grandmama. That was my grandmama Lula through and through. Hey, Miss September 15. Miss September 15 says, I just saw the Nigerian meaning of MAGA means people who are easily fooled. For real? I'm going to look that up, but I'm not surprised. Some of those people were taking horse tranquilizers to combat COVID because they were afraid of what the vaccine would put into their bodies. But they weren't afraid of natural selection at its finest. Sometimes you just got to let people make the decisions they're going to make. We were all better off as they get picked off one by one. Hey, Black Queen. Black Queen says, did you see how Don Lemon smacked down Meghan Nazi Kelly for attacking Joy Reid? I sure did. They are both Meghan haters, especially Meghan. The enemy of my enemy is my friend type of deal. Absolutely. I did. He said, tell your husband to stop looking at my husband across the room. It's weird. I said, oh, not him. See, like I said, I don't like looking crazy. I don't shoot my mouth off if I know it's a battle I can't win, or if I don't know 100% that I can win it. And one thing I would not do is go poking at Don Lemon, because that man has been on a rampage of truth lately. And I never thought I would say that, because I remember Don Lemon of yesteryear. When I was in college, I could not stand him. I'll leave it there because he's come a long way. I'm so proud of how he has come into his own. I'm so glad he's taking the gloves off. I know she was stuck. I know, and see, you know how she is. She might just crack and bleed. She is a mess. I was embarrassed. I have so much secondhand embarrassment now just remembering that coming. I logged into TikTok and that was the first thing I saw. And I was like, all this mess today. I mean, it's been Denisha and Khalil and that, and then the football player who was, or the commentator who was cheating with the other guy's wife, and the text messages. Did y'all see? It's been something crazy, something about an IUD. It's just been, the online world has been insane. I've been trying to figure out what happened to Gene Hackman. I've been trying to figure out what happened to Michelle Tretch. It's just been a crazy week on the internet. And it don't seem like it's slowing down anytime soon. Hey, Mina Ruth 2093. Mina Ruth says, hey, Sharion, did you see that video that Petty Charles sent Trump and he couldn't read it? No. Oh my, for real? Okay, I'm gonna look this up. I'm gonna look this, because no, I haven't seen it, but it certainly sounds like something I would enjoy. So I'll look it up and then I'll tell you guys my thoughts, or maybe we'll talk about it here. Mina Ruth 293 went on to say, oh my God, you're welcome, Sharion. I'm shocked that I was mentioned. Yes. So I finally got help weeding through like my social media, who can manage it. I'm just not good with social media. I post, but I don't know how to manage like the social media sites. And so I finally got somebody, the person who helps vet comments and emails, have now started working on my social media. And so they've been pushing some things through to me, and I'm finally getting to respond to stuff. So I'm so glad. One of the first things she pushed through to me was your article that you sent. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is timely. This is right up my alley. So I appreciate you for sending that. But anybody else who sent me something and I haven't responded, in due time, I'm finally catching up. I didn't even know there was a whole inbox that I couldn't see. I'll get there, y'all. Give me some time. You know I'm old. Give me some time. I'm from the MySpace days. Hi, Tamiko Hinman. Tamiko Hinman says, I work because I want to. And I know that's right. And see, that's exactly my point too, because I was retired for a little bit, for a good 8 months, where I was really in the retirement mind. I was going to the beach every day. I had a new workout class every day. I was just really living it up. And then I think about month 8, I was like, okay, this is getting boring. So, like, I was running out of stuff to do. And so I really went back and thought about like what brings me joy, not what makes me happy in the moment, but genuinely what makes me feel like the best version of myself. And I went down that path, and I'm now back in school just so I can start a whole nother career. So I'm excited about that. And again, I'll be working because I want to as well. And you know what? That's the best way to do anything. When you have a choice, it feels very different than when you have to do something. It could be the same job, same hours, same pay. But the moment you go from having to be there and tolerating it to wanting to be there, you walk with a different stride. And I tell you this, that was a moment in my life where I really, really, really was grateful for having that opportunity, because I have seen so many different versions of how people have to work a certain amount of time. And when they finally get a moment to take a break and enjoy the fruits of their labor, they get very little time to do that. And I really, really, really wanted some time to enjoy the fruits of my labor while I could enjoy it. And I'm so blessed to have that, because that is not that common for a lot of people. And so I was really blessed. But now I'm excited to go back into the workforce and go into private practice. I'm really excited, especially since I've worked on the other side of the business for so long. I have run so many people's practices, their finances, their operations, their intake, like all of the compliance. I have run so many people's practices. And then I'm like, girl, go run your own and save yourself some money. You don't need a business manager. You know how to do it. And so I decided to start from scratch and go right on back. And I have been enjoying school. Like, I've been enjoying every single step of the process. When I was younger and in school, it was okay, but I was just kind of ready to get out. And it's like now at this age, I'm able to savor it. I am enjoying every part of the learning process. I'm like way more engaged. I'm reading every single book that's recommended and finding new, like I have just been absorbing it. And I think it's because, just like you said, because I want to, it's a whole different environment. I'm just in it instead of surviving it. And that's a whole different environment. I really do wish that on everybody who's not a hater. I don't wish that on the derangers. I don't wish good things on them. I don't wish bad, but I don't wish good. Hey, TCC son, it's great to see you. Thank you so much for the super sticker. I appreciate that. All right, y'all, I have talked y'all's ear off. I hope y'all have a wonderful night. I know that all of the other streamers are probably gearing up to have a stream tonight or tomorrow, so I will give y'all some time to regroup before you head on over. Tell everybody I said hello. I'll try to join if I can. But I appreciate y'all joining me for our Friday live stream to end the month strong. Happy Black History Month for the last time of 2025. And I hope all of y'all have a wonderful weekend. And if y'all do anything fun, let me know. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and don't forget to comment if you're watching on replay. And I will see y'all next time. Bye, y'all.